today's episode, you will see new videos of how Ukrainians repel waves of Russian attacks. You will witness dozens of destroyed and burning tanks and armored vehicles. Perhaps the Russians have never faced such fierce resistance as they did last week. So let's begin. But let's start with the new Russian attack on one of the Ukrainian villages near Avdiivka. Russians are once again attempting to surround the settlement from different directions by sending tanks and APCs. Ukrainian soldiers greet them with cluster munitions. More ammunition has been arriving at the front, so the Russians have no chance. Cluster munitions easily damage Russian APCs and prevent the crews from escaping. Ukrainian drones flying over the battlefield immediately drop grenades on them to completely destroy the vehicles. Abandoned on the battlefield, the Russian tank becomes a tempting prize for Ukrainian drone operators. It would be great to take this tank, but in the current circumstances, it's almost impossible. So it has to be destroyed instead. However, one can still enjoy the spectacle. We all know that Russian tanks are the best in the world when it comes to burning in flames. You'll be surprised, but Ukrainian soldiers compete among themselves for the best grenade throw into the hatch of Russian tanks. It's like a 3-point field goal in basketball.
Matter of time, everybody.
Moreover, the reward for hitting the target accurately is a burning Russian tank. What could be better for a soldier defending his country? Ukrainian soldiers have reached such a level of skill that they can even blow smoke rings out of the turret hatch of Russian tanks. This has never been seen in the world history of wars. The guys definitely deserve a like from you, but let's go back to the battlefield. Encountering the first resistance, the Russians start to panic. They rapidly lose their organization and cohesion. Some begin to turn their armored vehicles to flee. Meanwhile, the Ukrainians use all available means against the enemy. Anti-tank weapons have not lost their relevance even with the advent of kamikaze drones. Eventually, the Russians abandon their armored vehicles and flee. Those who manage to escape by transport rather than on foot are considered luckier, like these guys. But eventually, even they got stuck in the trench. The smartest ones decide not to run anywhere but to build fortifications using their damaged armored vehicles to protect themselves from drones. Some even dig trenches like this guy. He knows that sooner or later, Ukrainian FPV drones will be here. And he was right. The Ukrainians had been anticipating this moment and prepared many good surprises for the Russian invaders. The hunt begins for those trying to escape the battlefield. This APC with Russians inside is an excellent target for a drone with a shaped charge. The fiery explosion instills terror in the remaining occupants. This tank was trying to retreat but immediately got his portion of retribution. This Russian T-90 tank hospitably welcomed the kamikaze drone into its cabin and burned down completely. But the Russians are also attacking from other directions. On this front section, the Ukrainians repel the attack solely with kamikaze drones. Look at how easily the Ukrainians deal with Russian tanks. captured and abandoned Russian tanks are subject to immediate destruction. Typically, another team of drone operators handles this task. Thanks to them, we always have fresh footage of burning Russian tanks. Indeed, a single Russian tank can burn for a very long time, especially when its ammunition detonates and explodes. Sometimes this process can last for several hours. But the Russians continue to advance on other fronts as well. Here, they encounter fierce resistance from Ukrainian artillery.
Just yesterday, I was a builder in Kiev, and now I'm the commander of an artillery brigade. Fire! We're fighting for our country, so that scum doesn't come crawling to us. We have our children and our parents here, and we want them to live in peace and tranquility.
While attacking, the Russians fire from tanks. But for every shot, they receive incoming projectiles or get hit by FPV drone strikes. Sometimes Ukrainians use various types of anti-tank missiles. Overall, luck is not on their side. The Ukrainians repel another Russian attack, destroying all Russian tanks and APCs. No tank manages to survive during the attack. They all, without exception, will be destroyed. We've seen dozens of destroyed tanks just in the last week. By the way, this one was burned by an American M67 grenade. Thanks to the American people for the powerful weapon. And now, take a look at the work of these two Ukrainian soldiers. Together, they managed to destroy numerous Russian armored vehicles using FPV drones. Their first capture was a Russian infantry fighting vehicle loaded with ammunition. Great job! Next, they repel the attack of Russian armored vehicles, not allowing them to break through. This Russian APC receives 2 drone strikes. Meanwhile, an artillery anti-infantry projectile explodes nearby. The Russians continue their attack but lose another APC, possibly detonated by a mine. When the Russians began to maneuver, the Ukrainians destroyed the lead tank with an anti-tank missile. Then, 2 kamikaze drones destroyed another armored vehicle. After that, the Russians stopped attacking as they suffered heavy losses. When the attack is halted, the Russians scatter in all directions. After the failed attack, the battlefield is strewn with damaged tanks and APCs. But many tanks and armored vehicles still remain undamaged on the battlefield. Therefore, drone operators are persistently working to destroy all Russian weaponry. And of course, Russian trucks delivering ammunition to the front are also systematically destroyed. This video is evidence of the first case where Russians managed to hit the American HIMARS rocket artillery system. The HIMARS was spotted not far from the front line. To hit the American rocket artillery system, the Russians used a super powerful ballistic missile Iskander. After such a missile, the HIMARS is guaranteed to be destroyed. In 2 years of war, they have only destroyed 1 unit. But the Russians were very happy and consider it a great achievement. But Ukrainian soldiers avenged the destroyed HIMARS. They destroyed dozens of valuable weapons in the Russian rear. But I'll show you that in the next video, so don't forget to subscribe.